Something exciting is happening. Many Jews today feel the need for a revitalized Judaism. People are searching for a more vital and authentic mode of Jewish expression, and more than ever we need to shift, not only physically, but spiritually out of exile mode. This is Torah Nation TV from Jerusalem, and we are speaking with the head of Machon Shilo, Rabbi David Bar-Hayim. Shalom, Rabbi Bar-Hayim.
Shalom.
Why in many yeshivot is Tanach not part of the curriculum?
There is no doubt that Tanach is the foundation of all of Judaism, and it must play a central role in any correct and balanced curriculum of Torah study, whether it is in Yeshivah or anywhere else, whether it's the individual who is required to study Torah. Every individual is required to devote time to the study of the Tanach, as we will presently explain. But first let me explain where this idea perhaps comes from, the idea that Tanach is not so important or can be ignored, or is even perhaps better if it's ignored or learnt very little. This idea is sometimes traced back to the Gemara in Masechet Berachot, Daf Kaf Het Amud Bet, where it says as follows. The Talmud here relates, it says, Keshehalat Rabbi Eliezer, when Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol was on his deathbed, Nichnasu Talmido Levakaro, his students came to visit him, to see him one last time. Amrulo Rabbenu, they said to him, our teacher, our master, Lamadenu or Bar-Hayim, teach us true paths of life, how to lead our lives, so that we may inherit the world to come. And he said to them as follows, Amar lahem, Hizzaharu bichvod haverchem, be very careful to show proper respect to your colleagues, to your fellow students of Torah. Umana'u banechem min higayon, and literally prevent your sons from studying higayon. We'll see in a moment what that means. V'hoshivum ben birkei tamidei chachamim, and place them, your sons, your children, place them between the knees, literally, of tamidei chachamim, so they will learn from their teachings and from their behavior. So what is this higayon that is being referred to here? This is a term which you don't see essentially in Chazal, the term higayon as a proper noun. Rashi explains, Lo targilum b'mikra yoter midai mishum demashcha. Rashi says that this refers to studying Tanach, Mikra. Rashi says, Yoter midai, too much, mishum demashcha. There are a number of difficulties with this perush, this interpretation of Rashi. First of all, the term higayon. What is meant by higayon, and where do we find this term in Chazal? The simple and plain fact is that we do not really find this term at all anywhere used as a proper noun, and it's difficult to know on the face of it what exactly it refers to. And it seems that Rashi also perhaps had some difficulty understanding what this refers to, because Rashi explains that it refers to Mikra, which is the standard term used by Chazal to refer to the Tanach, to the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. Which of course begs the question, if it's referring to Mikra, which is the normal term for the Tanach, as Chazal use these terminologies, then why does it simply not say Mana'u banechem mina Mikra? If that's the purpose, if that's the aim of Rabbi Eliezer, to tell his students, do not allow your sons, your children, to study too much Mikra, then why not just say Mana'u banechem mina Mikra? That would be the Lashon, that would be the language, the terminology we would expect. Instead we hear this term higayon, which does not really fit and does not really explain why the Tanach is being referred to here as higayon. Second of all, Rashi says, do not allow your sons to study Mikra, yoter midai. What exactly is yoter midai? It's also very difficult to know what that means. The implication is that one should study Tanach, but up to a certain point, or invest a certain amount of time and energy in it, but not beyond that point. What is that point? How do we know what we're referring to? So this Perush of Rashi is not very clear at all. On the other hand, we have another Perush which goes back to a period even before Rashi, the time of the Geonim, and I'll read to you from what it says in the Perush of the Nimukei Yosef, one of the Rishonim. The Nimukei Yosef at the end of Masechet Mechila writes, "V'Rabbeinu Sa'adia, Rav Sa'adia Gaon, Piresh Higayon Hochmat Almanask. Korim la hanotzrim logika mishum demashcha." In other words, according to Rav Sa'adia Gaon, this refers to what we call today philosophy, Greek philosophy, and logic and reasoning, as the Greeks and other nations later inherited from them. That kind of study is what is being referred to according to Rav Sa'adia Gaon. And he goes on to say that in Nimukei Yosef, "V'chen piresh Rabbeinu Hai," referring to Rav Hai Gaon, "Shehi Chochmat HaHigayon, mipnei shemoshet lev ha'adam, ve'ulai yimshoch libo v'lo yeh hafes b'Torah v'yishkach masher lamad." So here we have two Perushim from two of the greatest of the Gaonim, Rav Hai Gaon and Rav Sa'adia Gaon, who both claim very plainly that this term Higayon does not refer to the study of Tanach at all, but rather to the study of Greek and other foreign philosophies and ways of thinking and looking at the world, which are not rooted in a Torah perspective, in a Torah viewpoint, not rooted in the basic beliefs and conceptions on which a Jewish viewpoint must be based. And therefore, Rabbi Eliezer was saying to his students, and remember that Rabbi Eliezer was living in Eretz Yisrael in the time of Roman occupation, at a time when Greco-Roman culture and education were very prevalent and influential here in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Eliezer was saying to his students, do not allow your children to get carried away and get involved in the study of these foreign ideas and forms of reason and thought, because they will lead your children away from the Torah. And this Perush seems much more likely and much more reasonable than describing the Tanach as using the term Higayon, which is not to be found anywhere in Chazal referring to the Mikra, to the Tanach. There is another problem, of course, with such an interpretation as that which we see in Rashi, and that is that we have an explicit halacha in the Talmud Masechet Kiddushin, in the Talmud Bavli Daf Lamed, where we find the well-known baraita that a person is hayav, a person is required to divide his time for studying Torah into three, not necessarily exactly equal, but into three portions, three parts. 1/3 or one section is to be devoted to the study of Mikra, 1/3 to be devoted to the study of Mishnah, and 1 to the study of Talmud. And of course, all areas of the Torah can and must be fitted into one of those categories. So shall we say the study of Perushim, commentaries on the Tanach, is part of the study of Mikra, and everything related to the Mishnah is part of the study of the Mishnah, and this also, and the Talmud, this includes Midrashim, Midrashei Halacha, Midrashei Agadah, etc. This halacha appears in the Gemara Masechet Kiddushin Daf Lamed. It is a halacha pesuka in all the posukim, down to the Shulchan Aruch and beyond. There's no question this halacha is authoritative and without any opposition. There is no mahaloka, there is no argument that this is the halacha which obligates all Jews. And I'd like to read to you from what the Rambam writes on this topic. Rambam in Chot Talmud Torah Perek Aleph, halacha Yod Aleph, the Rambam writes, V'hayav l'shalesh zeman lemidato. A person must divide his time studying Torah as follows. Shalish b'Torah shebichtav, 1/3 of the time he should study the Tanach and everything connected to the Tanach, which is what Chazal mean when they say Shalish b'Mikra. Shalish b'Torah sheBa'al Peh, which is what Chazal say what they mean when they say Shalish b'Mishnah. Ushalish yavin v'yaskil aharith davar mireshito. This refers to what Chazal say Shalish b'Talmud, which means what we call today learning be'iyun, to understand the concepts, to understand the ideas better, and to arrive at a correct conclusion, whether it's discussing an halachic matter or some philosophical or ethical matter, etc. So we have a clear, unequivocal halakha based on an explicit sugya in Masechet Kiddushin, which is halakha pesuka according to all. Even if it were the case that the statement of Rabbi Eliezer indicated otherwise, that we should limit our study of Tanach, even if that were clear, which it is not clear at all, it is far from clear, but even if it were, it would not be correct, it would not be reasonable, it would be, in fact, a clear error to claim that on the basis of this statement, this other halakha in Masechet Kiddushin is to be overridden. This is certainly not the correct approach, the way to understand the Torah. So there is no doubt that the studying of Tanach should be part of any serious, well-balanced curriculum based on the explicit instructions and recommendations of Chazal as brought in the halakha that we just read now. There is one other point that I would mention briefly, and that is that the study of Tanach for Jews living in the Galuth in the past, maybe also today, I think it's also probably true today, but certainly in earlier generations, in a reality where the Jews were living in a time, in a place so far removed from the type of Jewish existence that we find described in the Tanach, a Jewish existence where the Jewish people are living in their land and dealing with all kinds of issues, including fighting the enemy and conquering the land, and living off the land, being involved in agriculture, which we know in many parts of the Jewish world throughout the Galuth, throughout the exile, Jews were not allowed to work the land, etc. The entire mode of Jewish existence and the issues that faced the Jewish people were very, very different in the time of the Tanakh as opposed to many of the generations of the Galuth. And therefore I think it's true to say that over time it became harder and harder for Jews, all Jews, including Talmidei Chachamim, including rabbis and sages, to spend time studying the Tanakh and relate to what we find in the Tanakh. Even though there were certainly, throughout all of Jewish history, there were always great Chachamim, the greatest sages of all, wrote commentaries on all of the Tanakh. We only need to mention names like Rashi and Rav Saadia Gaon and the Radak and Rabbi Avraham ibn Ezra, to name but a few of the Chachamim who spent a tremendous amount of time studying the Tanakh and writing about the Tanakh and explaining what we find there, because it was obviously of great importance and of great centrality in their outlook and their understanding and appreciation of the Torah. So on the one hand, there perhaps were generations and people and places where the study of Tanakh was not something that came naturally to the Jewish people, and therefore it tended to be ignored. But that, on the other hand, does not prove that that is how it should be. In fact, we know from all the facts we just mentioned how the Tanakh was always learnt and studied and written about by all the greatest of the Chachamim, and that the halakha requires us to study the Tanakh. That it is impossible to understand the Torah, and it is impossible to appreciate what Judaism is all about without a proper acquaintance with the Tanakh and a true connection to the Tanakh. This is a simple and basic and elementary truth of Torah Judaism.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.